just about to button up this overhaul on this e-bike motor here, which I got an aftermarket repair kit for, and I was just about to put it together, and I thought now's probably a good time to show people the kit and the result. And also I thought I have a quick little chat about greases and their uses. So the kit comes from Ebike Motor Centre, I think they're called, which is their parent company, or their full legal name, or whatever it's called, Performance Lines Bearings, and they're in the UK, and they put together kits for several types of e-bike motors, Bosch ones, some Bros, Yamaha, I think. Not sure if they've done any Shimano EP stuff or anything, I don't know, I can't remember. But anyway, so these are the replaced components. These aren't a part of the kit, they're just getting replaced anyway. So as you can see, there's quite a bit to it. There's like half a dozen deep groove ball bearings, some O-rings, dirt clips, and these what look like roller bearings here, 4 of them. So there's quite a bit in there, and so this is the sort of end result all done. Bosch, the way they do it, they use, I believe, they've only got 2 greases basically, one for inside the motor and one outside the motor, which is a sticky grease, which people are supposed to buy and service, I guess probably about the same amount of frequency as you lube your chain, is to put it around like the seals on the external facing bearings, to capture dirt and prevent water going in and stuff and whatever. Of course no one ever does it, and so Bosch motors are prone to water ingress, which if you look here you can see evidence of the water ingress on some of these bearings and stuff. Even, it's probably wiped off, got a bit of grease in them being through my fingers. Even some right inside the motor, like the one underneath this gear was rusty, so it's not a good design, and they haven't done a good job of sealing it. There's, like for the main shaft, this O-ring here is jaw seal basically, and it, sealing on the inside of a bearing, and just doesn't cut it. Luckily, these clever guys at Performance Line Bearings have managed to get a lip seal for one side, this side actually, so when that's all together, that seal will fit in there and protect that bearing there. So they use those 2 greases. I've used 6 greases and a good quality sealant putting it back together. The cover plate here has a bonded like silicon rubber seal, which they go a bit flat. It probably would have been alright, but on the safe side, I'm trying to get more longevity out of this. So I'm putting some sealant on there. The sealant, by the way, is non-acidic. It's neutral curing. It doesn't use acetic acid or anything to cure it. And that's important because I've used it here, and here on the circuit board when I put it back together, just replacing the original factory had that, and apparently it's for vibration dampening. I don't know if it really needs it because there's 6 screws holding it down, but I thought just in case I would adhere to what they do. But what I also did with the sealant which is emitted by Bosch, is I put it there. You can't really see. Oh, there you go. So there's no gasket or anything in there. That's the bottom of the circuit board facing the outside for those connections. So I put a small ring around that, and also this one here is where the battery plugs in, and so I put a ring around that. Also, I also put it around the outside of the bearing races on those two bearings facing out, to just try and help it. And then with the greases, the reason why I've got all these greases is they do different jobs in different ways. So if we look in here, there's not really great light. I'm trying to see if I can find my torch. But if we look in here, down here, these gears, there's two stacks of gears down there that run metal on metal. They're just two metal gears. So on those, I've lubricated them with this is an extreme pressure grease with shockproofing additives and stuff. Got molybdenum disulfide in it. It's a very good grease for this kind of operation, because it sticks well, and it's actually got physical barrier stuff in it that stops the teeth from touching each other, as well as lubricants. So that's great. But when it comes to nylon, the nylon gears can break down over time in contact with the additives and that kind of grease. They're a bit more tolerant to a straight petroleum-based grease, but that will still get to them over time. But those additives can be quite vicious in greases and oils. So also they can attack O-rings, which, like this O-ring here, I don't know what it's made of. It could be nitrile, and it might be all right, but still, depending on the type or the blend of nitrile, how dense and whatever, they can be affected by some of these harsh additives as well. So it's hard to know. When they're black O-rings, it's hard to know. If it was an orange O-ring, they're called Viton, and they can handle just about anything, but they're not good in dynamic environments like this, the shafts being inside the bearing. So the texture or whatever of the material is not good for dynamic applications. So I can't use that same grease I've used down there to protect those metal gears to protect the other parts of the e-bike motor, so I have to use other stuff. So the O-rings, for those, the safest bet is always going to be just a silicone grease. Silicone grease is good for O-rings and seals. So that's cool. Let's handle those. Now, the nylon gears, they get toothpaste. Nah, just jokes. So that, I believe, is like a additive-free white lithium grease, which is fine for nylon, but it's not really that great a lubricant. So that's why I've gone with my molybdenum disulfide additive grease on the metal gears, and it also, hopefully, this stuff, I think, will have a bit better adhesion, and so therefore if it does get water inside it again, which chances are it will eventually, it can help prevent against rusting and that sort of stuff, because there was some signs of minor pitching in areas, and if it keeps getting worse, like next time it opens up, it'll be, there'll be hard components that'll need replacing, like the shaft or one or two of the gears, and then it's throwaway time. So that's explained why I've got that and the toothpaste and the silicone grease, but there's more here. So the other one, or one of the other ones, is an anti-seize. This one's a copper-based anti-seize, can get alloy-based anti-seize as well. There's some splines in certain parts in here. This double gear stack under here is splined. I just like using anti-seize on splines for some reason. Not sure why. Always have, always done it. So that's why that's there. Which leaves two left. One is that one there next to the white lithium grease. That's like kind of an in-between of the white lithium and the molybdenum disulfide grease. And that is a lithium-based grease without EP, which means extreme pressure, or anti-shock additives and stuff in it. So it's quite a neutral, general purpose petroleum-based grease. So not as good as that for the gears, still not really good for the plastic or the nylon, although it could have been used because it doesn't have any of those harsh additives in it. But the reason for that is here, these, as I said earlier at the start, I said would appear to be needle roller bearings. Well, this one here and this one here actually what's called a sprag clutch, which is like an overrun clutch. It's a bearing. They're like a bearing, but they only work in one way. So this big one here, which is in the centre here, when it goes on, that nice shiny clean part there goes into it, and that has to be perfectly clean, and then the rollers on that can grip onto it and turn it, and that gives you your drive. But then when you want to toast or whatever, it can freewheel. So that is quite a techo piece of gear, and one of the problems with e-bikes is these things, they fail in a lot of different motors. And my personal opinion, the reason that they do fail is because of lubrication. And the problem is these things, sprag clutches, they're normally oiled. They're not normally greased. They're normally oiled, and then they can stay lubrication just by mist in a gearbox and that sort of stuff. That's fine for them. They don't need a lot, but probably more than just oiling them and sticking them in here and firing it out the door. It might go dry before something else, before something else gives up and it's time for another rebuild or service or whatever. So people use grease in them, but they slap all sorts of weird and wonderful greases in them, and that's what kills them, I reckon, because I've seen, like, from the factory, certain manufacturers, and they just stuff full of molybdenum disulfide grease all the way through, and it's absolutely no good for a sprag clutch bearing. Those EP additives, I'm not sure how they would take to the molybdenum component itself, but they're no good for it. They affect its operation, and so that's the problem. So that is what that grease is for, and I only grease them very, very lightly. What I do is I soak them in oil for like hours and hours and hours prior to assembly, and then put them together, and then I'll just do like a really thin smear of grease on it. Like you can hardly see that because they really are supposed to be oiled rather than greased, but I just chuck in a little bit of grease just to sort of give it something in case all the oil runs away, you know, dries out before its next service or whatever. It's you know, what do they call it, rock in a hard place kind of thing. You've got to do something, but nothing's quite right, kind of thing. So that's what I've done here. And then, so the last grease is called dielectric grease, and that I have used to protect the electrical connections from ingress of all this other yucky greases and oils that are floating around in there. Because these dirty greases and stuff could, you know, conduct and that sort of thing. And these, we're talking signal level voltages here and stuff. So you don't want that. And when I opened this up, there was quite a bit of grease around on the circuit board and stuff. So not ideal. That's the environment that these are in, and how it goes. So all you can do is like the best that you can, and so that's what the dielectric grease is for, is just to try and protect that, keep you know, electrical plugs and stuff, and keep the crap out of them, and that's about it. So that's why I've used 6 different types of what are technically greases in one e-bike motor rebuild.